Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us today. We're now inside 10 days until the election, and there's so much going on. Of course, we got an October surprise. Democrats and the mainstream media have been promising we were going to get one. Well, we've got one. This one's from The Atlantic and John Kelly, Donald Trump's former chief of staff, who's got a very severe case of Trump derangement syndrome. He says Trump wishes he had more generals like Adolf Hitler had. Made some other wild claims about President Trump belittling a military veteran who passed away and the funeral around it. All nonsense. It's just the campaigns against Donald Trump and everything they try to do to get this man, nothing seems to work. It only makes him stronger. Indictment after indictment, civil cases after civil cases, trying to bury him in bills, 2 assassination attempts on the man. Nothing seems to work. I want to bring in our guest today, and he's a man, as I've told you, you're going to see a lot of on this show. He's going to be back each and every week, the great Roger Stone. Roger, thanks so much. It's great to see you this week.
John, it's great to be with you. I think it's important people realize that The Atlantic is the leading fake news site of the deep state. They have a long record of just total fabrications, or more importantly, distortions. So, for example, when I observed, having read all of the pleadings in the Trump documents case and followed the case very carefully and being familiar with the constitutional issues, many of which had been raised by a witness in my own trial regarding the constitutionality of Jack Smith, the special counsel's appointment, in view of the fact that he was never confirmed by the U.S. Senate to have these broad prosecutorial powers, the fact that there is no law in place providing for his position, right, including the fact that under his arrangement with the Attorney General, he's unfireable by the president. That's unconstitutional. No executive branch employee can be unfireable by the president. And then, of course, the fact that there's no funding, no budget item for the millions he spent trying to get Donald Trump. Right. And I opined in what turned out to be an illegally recorded video by some left-wing James O'Keefe wannabe woman that I thought that Judge Keenan would ultimately rule that the indictment of Trump on these documents-related charges would be voided because Smith's appointment was unconstitutional. That was my opinion. But the Atlantic would tell you that I must be in touch with the judge. I've never met the judge. I've never had any contact with her. I've read about her. The attacks on her integrity or her capability are laughable. She was an effective prosecutor. She's a Cuban American. Parents are refugees. Whenever a judge makes a decision the left loves, they're a statesman, they're a genius, they're the best. Whenever a judge appointed by Trump or Reagan or Bush makes a decision favorable to Trump, they're incompetent, they're compromised, they're an idiot. This is an absurdity. But the Atlantic claimed that it meant I must have had some contact with the judge. Of course, I had none. And then when I said correctly, it basically at night when the polls are closed if the officials, as they did in Detroit and in Philadelphia, stop the count at 3 a.m., have the local police remove the Republican observers, lock the doors, cover the windows, and resume the count, that the attorneys for the Republicans need to be able to contact a judge, right, specifically the duty judge. Every federal circuit designates one judge who, in an emergency situation, you can file for an injunction or other emergency motion with. The headline, again, Stone says Trump has judges in his pocket. That's not what I said, but again, The Atlantic. And then more recently, I said in a speech to the Jacksonville Young Republicans, right, that I believe there was 1 million non-existent voters on the rolls in the swing states. These are voters who are dead, voters who moved out of state, voters who never perhaps really existed. They certainly can't be located today, and that they should be legally removed. The Atlantic, Stone reveals plan to disenfranchise millions. No, nothing written by The Atlantic is credible or true. And this particular piece of poison comes from a man who was fired by Donald Trump. John Kelly was fired for incompetence and insubordination. John Kelly believed it was his role to dilute or slow down or change policies laid out by the commander in chief.
Yep.
He, for example, forbid anyone in the White House from using the terms Islamic terrorism, which is inconsistent with the president's position.
Yep.
And he made up these stories after he was fired. He began to believe that he was saving the country. And he didn't understand that it's the president who sets policy. And then he invented the suckers and liars lie. That's his first lie. Trump is in a cemetery. Kelly alleges that he said veterans who gave their lives for the country were suckers and losers. There are 19 other people there, John. None of them have any recollection of Trump having said this because he didn't say it. But like the golden goose, they go back to Kelly for a new lie.
Yep.
Mr. Kelly has a tape of Donald Trump saying he wants generals like Hitler's generals. Let him play the tape.
Right.
It can't be some AI created BS. Trump never said that. This guy Goldberg is caught coming and going, and the family of the veteran you mentioned, they've come forward to say to the contrary. Trump treated them with nothing but dignity, and they actually voted for him. So this is a hit piece. The Atlantic cannot be taken seriously. It's not a journalistic outlet. It should file with the Federal Election Commission as an independent corporate expenditure to benefit Kamala Harris.
And you know what's crazy, Roger, is that it's a news reporting outlet. So they're privy to lawsuits. When I was at Fox News and we challenged the 2020 election, we were sued by Smartmatic and we were sued by Dominion. I sat through hours of deposition. Lou, God rest his soul, sat through hours of deposition with hours and hours of total bullshit. Yet the Atlantic will get away with another one of these things. This guy will probably get a Pulitzer Prize and become a hero. There's no October surprise here. I want to read you something I saw on a guy's Twitter, Michael J. Morrison. John Kelly was so shocked at how much Trump admired Hitler that he forgot about it for 5 years and conveniently remembered 2 weeks before the election. I got it. Roger, the voters are smarter than that. But the people who publish this, how are they so goddamn stupid? I mean,
but see, they're not stupid. This is what is called clickbait.
Yeah.
So every leftist lunatic, if you smear Roger Stone in any way, if you say, for example, that there was no assassination attempt on Trump, that's all made up. That was all staged. That's a psyop, and it was run by Roger Stone. There are people crazy enough to click on that, and when they click, these outlets make money. So whether it is the Huffington Post or the Daily Beast, I mean, they don't even hide who they are, or Raw Garbage or whatever that site is called. They make money with these fabrications. Kelly is not respected by anyone. The fact that Kamala and Tim Walz continue to say Trump's chief of staff, his national security advisor, two of his defense secretaries, and his vice president say he's not fit to be president, those are all people that he fired for incompetence and insubordination. Yes, H.R. McMaster, who was his national security advisor, was famous for getting drunk at dinner parties and saying, I'm the only thing that stands between you and nuclear war because Donald Trump, I've got to handle him. I've got to tone him down. This is not his job. And he was fired for insubordination. So the problem here is that Kamala's campaign and those handling it, basically Obama's people at this point, they see things only in terms of Republicans and Democrats.
Right.
So look, we have Republican support. Dick Cheney, the war criminal, right, who lied us into war in Iraq based on two fabrications.
Yeah.
That Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. No, he didn't. They forced Colin Powell, who's, I believe, then the national security advisor, to go to the UN and say Saddam Hussein has acquired yellow cake uranium to build nuclear weapons. It's a lie. Yeah. And then they promulgate the lie that somehow Iraq was involved in the attack on America on 9/11, which is an open wound then and now. It's a lie on which, amazingly, Halliburton, the company that Dick Cheney's on leave from to be vice president and goes back to after vice presidency, they win all the contracts for the restructuring and many of the projects pertaining to Iraq. Vice president has his Halliburton stock. It's in his blind trust. Well, how blind can he be if he knows it's there?
It's so funny because John Kelly, and like you said, he's probably not a stupid guy. He's a malicious guy, and he probably has his personal interest forward, whether it's a book deal or something, which he'll probably get $1 million to write. I don't know what we're waiting for. We should have gotten it already. He had the audacity to say there were other people in the room, Roger. There's one problem with that. Nobody else has corroborated the story.
Well, then produce them, General. I mean,
right. Show us who they were. I think he said 7 or so people. The other story about the soldier who was killed, the Mexican fellow who was killed, Ben Williamson, who I know very well, the former assistant to Mark Meadows, came out and said, I was in the room. That he never said that. The family came out and said it. But Kamala Harris is running with it. She's got nothing left, Roger. The tank is absolutely empty.
No, but they seem to be putting huge stock in the endorsements of Dick Cheney and his daughter. In the same week, we find out that his daughter was coaching January 6th committee witnesses behind the backs of their lawyers, something she as a lawyer knows she's not supposed to do.
Yep.
She suborned perjury in my case.
Yep.
With Cassidy Hutchinson. Cassidy Hutchinson testifies that Mark Meadows, that the president told Mark Meadows to contact Roger Stone and General Flynn on the 5th of January to find out what was going to happen on the 6th. No such call was ever made. Meadows denies that. Flynn denies it. I deny it. It's made up. It's not true. Then she goes on to say that there was a meeting in a war room at the Willard Hotel. Well, first of all, let me say, if there's a war room there, I don't know about it. I've never been in it. I know nothing about it. The Washington Post confirmed from 3 sources that I had no involvement in whatever was going on in the Willard Hotel. But secondarily, she says that Meadows, her boss, the White House chief of staff, is thinking of attending a meeting at the Willard. She talks him out of it, thinking it's unadvisable.
Because he's going to listen to her.
But that Meadows called Stone and Flynn afterwards for a debrief. No, he didn't, because neither Flynn nor Stone was in any such meeting, and there is no such call. Then they take videos of me, but they change the visual with an AI-created voice track. I mean, this is a monstrosity, the January 6th committee. But this is the woman who's talking about integrity and endorsing Kamala Harris, and who presumably will inherit that Halliburton money when Dick has his next big heart attack. So, and then little Adam Kissinger. I mean, that's the old Republican Party.
Gone.
Meantime, the real story today, the big story, is Tulsi Gabbard, 3-term Democrat Congresswoman, a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Reserve, who served her country in combat in both Iraq and Kuwait, championship surfer, and independent thinking, former vice chairman of the Democrat Party, who saw the way they mugged Bernie Sanders, saw the way they mugged Robert Kennedy when they tried to compete against the Obama-controlled party, has become a Republican. She's decided to join the party of Lincoln, the party of Reagan, the party of Trump, the party of peace, the party of prosperity, the party of law and order, the party of a healthy America again. That to me is a seismic. And Tulsi was very articulate. She says, look, I would never have joined the old Republican Party. This is the party of the middle class. This is the party of working people. This is a party that puts America first. It's an anti-war party. It is a party now committed to making America healthy again. So I think that was a major factor here. Couldn't have come at a better time. If I'm an independent or a former Democrat and I look at that, I'm going to take another look at Donald Trump.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Roger. I want to take a quick break here. When we return, I want to go a little bit further into how Kamala Harris, if possible, can pull this out. My opinion, and probably in yours, we don't think she can, but there may be a little slim possibility. I want to take up the prospect of that. When we return, we're talking about Roger Stone. We're coming right back.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving us with a ton of extra My Pillows. But you know what? That's their loss. I'm going to make it your gain. For the first time ever, you get standard classic My Pillows for wholesale prices, only $14.88. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, I'm going to offer my entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Upgrade to a queen size My Pillow for just $18.88. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use My Pillows for only $9.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on the screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever on TV, including my standard size My Pillow, only $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. We have limited quantities at this price, so limit's going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone.
We're back. We're talking with the great Roger Stone, and as I said at the top of the show here, Roger's going to be joining us each and every week on this show. It's always a great conversation with Roger. There's no sugarcoating on anything. It's the truth, justice, and the American way. It's the mantra and motto of this show that Lou came up with that we're going to continue to live through on the show. And Roger, there's no better person than Roger to do that. Roger, Kamala Harris, after that Atlantic piece came out, felt the need to go out and host a press conference at her vice presidential residence, saying, quote, Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who was responsible for the death of 6 million Jews. I mean, it's unbelievable that she could come out here and say such a thing. Yet if Donald Trump goes out there and questions her ethnicity, which we all know she's lied about now for some time, he's a racist and a xenophobe. She's out here calling this man Adolf Hitler. Donald Trump is like a gentle giant. He talks tough, but at the end of the day, he wants peace. He doesn't like fighting with people. If he doesn't have to fight with people, he likes it. It's the same reason he's become friends with 15 out of the 16 people who were on stage with him in 2016. Chris Christie, the whale, obviously could never get along because he had that Trump derangement syndrome he can never get over. Nonetheless, the rest of them, it was a tough primary, Roger, and he was friends with all of them at the end, one capacity or another. He's a man of the people. I often say that, and he gets along with a lot of people. He's just a regular guy who can relate to everybody. But you've got her going out here, last-ditch effort, Roger. Is there any chance that she can pull this thing out on November 5th?
Well, I'd say a couple things. First of all, this demonstrates the tight coordination between she and the authors at The Atlantic. So they're all together. It's a cabal. Yeah. He's not an independent journalist. He's either dreamed this up and gave them the heads up, or they dreamed it up and sold it to him. Secondarily, they're slipping badly among Jewish voters, and they know it because they won't stand up for Israel. So this is another way to try to appeal to those voters. It comes in an interesting time. Here's what I would say. I see a lot of parallels now in the polling between the closing days of Reagan's campaign in 1980 and today. You have a situation in which Donald Trump, because of 9 years of the fake news media pounding on him, promulgating fake news stories, putting him through malicious prosecutions, accusing him of, telling people to swallow bleach and all kinds of crazy shit that he never really said. He's got a very high unfavorable. He's got a very high favorable. The unfavorables probably narrowly outnumber the favorables, but the favorables love him. He has a voter intensity that I've never seen in any candidate for public office in the 45 years I have been in American politics. Kamala's unfavorable continues to rise. Her favorable continues to drop. The more she talks, the higher her unfavorable gets. She's now also underwater. More people have an unfavorable view of her than a favorable view of her. Her voters are not nearly as intense. Some of them are because they're ideologues,
right?
Mostly Marxists, I think.
Marxists, yeah, exactly.
But basically, when you then look, however, at the question of who is best to bring down inflation, or who is best to bring down gasoline prices, or who do you think would be more likely to solve the war, get a peace agreement, or at least a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, or end the problems in the Middle East, or protect Taiwan? Trump outpoints her in the low to middle 50s on every issue. Right. This is exactly what we saw. Reagan. People were more confident that Reagan could bring back the economy than Carter. People were more confident that Reagan could bring home the hostages that Iran was holding than Carter. People thought that that Reagan could get spending and inflation under control, respark a resurgent economy, which has gotten stagnant under Carter. So we're seeing that same phenomena. At the same time, there are storm clouds that I find disturbing. No, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I don't understand why it will take so long to count the votes in 3 of the major swing states. If France can count 38 million paper ballots in one day, surely we, even with all our sophisticated computers, can come up with a vote total. And now we learn that the 3 secretaries of state, all Democrats, are talking to each other. That seems to me like some kind of planned.
Well, plus Brad Raffensperger, who's not a Democrat, Roger.
Correct. And the guy in Georgia. Now, on top of that, Kamala says in her Fox interview that Donald Trump is going to use the military on people who oppose him or disagree with him. But actually, it's the Department of Defense under the Harris-Biden administration that shockingly publishes new directives which give the military the authority to not only spy on American citizens, but also to use lethal force against them. What is it they are preparing for? Now you have people like James Carville saying the Trump people are going to become violent. Trump is going to foment violence. When he learns he hasn't won, they're going to be violent. No. That is not our plan. We denounce violence. We'd like to win this at the ballot box. If we can't win at the ballot box, it would be much harder to win in the courts, but we would have an obligation to try. But that is where the solution, if there is a dispute, if there's evidence, real evidence of fraud, then the courts is where this will have to be heard. The courts last time would not hear it. No, Trump did not lose 62 cases. 62 cases, mostly by state attorney generals, were not heard by the courts based on technical reasons and reasons of standing. Right. So if there is, in fact, evidence of fraud or anomalies or irregularities in the voting process, the proper place to address that would be in the courts. But the left has a Project 65, in which we basically tell every lawyer in the country, don't even think about representing Donald Trump or Republicans in questioning this coming election, because we'll have you disbarred. A lawyer's job is to zealously and honestly represent their client and produce evidence of their client's claims or actions, but they don't want to allow that. Now you add to that the fact that the Attorney General, Mr. Garland, has announced that interfering with the election day process on election day will be prosecuted. Okay, but what is interference? Asking questions? Objecting to something going on that's illegal? I mean, that seems very broad to me. And then he announces any effort to delay or question the certification of a winner will be treated as a crime. I'm not a lawyer, but I've read the Electoral College Act. The whole idea of fake electors, there's no such thing as a fake elector. That's made up by left-wing lawyers and prosecutors and the talking heads at MSNBC, who really are the ones who invented it and sold it to the government. But we know that in 1960, in Hawaii, in a razor-thin race, it was thought election night that Vice President Nixon had carried Hawaii, but John Kennedy's campaign had wisely filed a slate of alternative electors because they believed once the absentee ballots came in that JFK would win, and he did. And his alternative electors were seated, and Nixon's electors were not seated. The same thing happened in 1877. The Electoral College does not prohibit, particularly when there's a litigation and each side is trying to preserve its rights, to having alternative electors. The people who were alternative electors in Georgia all got charged with a crime. Read the minutes of their meeting. They basically say we are forming this slate of electors because we're in litigation, and in the event that we succeed in litigation, then we have a slate that could be seated by the courts. That's not illegal. Those indictments are ridiculous. But you already see them setting up a scenario to try to deny Trump victory when he wins. The longer the vote count takes, the more contentious this is going to get. It is vexing because I just see these storm clouds. I would hope that they will allow for a free, fair, honest, transparent election. That's what we want. Because if that happens, I'm convinced that Trump will win.
Yeah, and early voting's underway. We're going to take one more quick break here, but Roger, over 20 million Americans have already early voted in this country, a massive number that we've never seen before. We're getting reports that President Trump, that the Republican Party is outperforming any numbers they've done in the past with early voting. I want to take that up with you. Plus, Kamala Harris is having a rally, and this is breaking news, is having a rally next Tuesday. When the audience finds out where this rally is going to be, you're going to be very surprised. We're coming right back with Roger Stone. Stay with us.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving us with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss. I'm going to make it your gain. For the first time ever, you get standard classic MyPillows for wholesale prices, only $14.88. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, I'm going to offer my entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.88. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on the screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever on TV, including my standard size MyPillow, only $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. We have limited quantities at this price, so limit's going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone.
We're back. We're talking with Roger Stone. Roger, Kamala Harris, this coming Tuesday, October 29th, has filed for a permit to host an event. It's First Amendment activity is what she filed it under, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. You're not going to believe this location. At the Ellipse, the same place where President Trump spoke on January 6th. You had mentioned last segment about the sending in the military to fight back against the American people. They wouldn't send in the National Guard, Roger, on January 6th, days before. I think January 2nd or 3rd, Chief Stephen Sun, the Capitol Police, said, we think things may get out of control. I'm requesting the Capitol Police. Ran it up and down the chain of command multiple times. I spoke with Julia Kelly about it on the show this week. Couldn't get approval for it. Now they're so willing and able to get the National Guard and any military power they need against the American people. But on January 6th, when there was FBI informants and FBI actors and government actors there protesting and maybe doing bad things, they were nowhere to be found. So Kamala Harris hosting a rally on the Ellipse. I mean, is she laughing in the faces of these January 6th political prisoners? I call them prized possessions of Merrick Garland, because he sits there and, as you said, Merrick Garland says anyone who challenges the 2024 election, you'll pay the price. And you look at those people on January 6th and what's happened to them. Your thoughts, Roger?
Several things. Look, they only have two issues on which they can run. One of them, of course, is abortion, where they must distort Trump's position.
Yeah.
He's going to sign a federal abortion ban. No, he isn't.
Yeah.
He's going to take away IVF, the fertility drugs. No, he isn't. He's going to take away your birth control. No, he isn't. Those things are all lies. As I predicted this multiple places, they're going to try to claim that he wants to cut your Social Security. I think that the Project 2025 agenda, which is not his agenda or his platform, calls for extending the retirement age. So you'd have to be older before you could get your benefits, as well as means testing. That means the government looks at a senior citizen to determine how much outside income they have and then cuts their Social Security benefits on some formula. Trump is opposed to both, has always been opposed to both.
Yeah.
There are legitimate critics who say that the system is going to go broke. That's true. There needs to be a solution, but that's not the solution. But Kamala Harris has begun saying Trump is going to cut your Social Security because it's in somebody else's platform. It'd be like holding her responsible for everything that's in the U.S. Communist Party platform, although she probably is for most of it. Anyway,
yeah, of course.
So January 6th is the other one, the myth of January 6th.
Yeah.
They had, like Russian collusion, they have a huge investment in this because the mainstream media ran with the whole fake narrative They're trying to prosecute Donald Trump now, so even as we speak, under that fake narrative. Her returning there gets that narrative back in the news. That's what they want. Trump supporters should stay as far away from that as humanly possible, because they would love some Trump supporter to do something stupid that they could then use to justify crushing all of us. So, folks, it's a free country. She's got a permit. She can go there and say anything she wants. I would urge people to stay away and keep focusing on getting out the vote for Trump. But they continue to think January 6th is a good issue for them. It's why they trot Liz Cheney out. Same time we learned that she was talking illegally to one of the witnesses in that entire manipulated probe. Speaker Johnson needs to appoint a committee, as Jim Jordan has suggested, to investigate the investigation. Why would they destroy their records on their way out the door? What is it they don't want us to see? This made-for-television drama is riddled with lies and omissions, fabrications, but they think it is a huge issue for them. Politics is about the future, not the past. These are the only two things they can talk about. They're trying to lock Donald Trump up. Now you see Joe Biden coming in to support this narrative, saying, well, we got to lock Trump up.
14 days.
It just kind of bad timing on Joe's part, I would say. It's already clear to everybody that they're doing that. Joe Biden is obviously a conflicted man. On the one part, he hates Donald Trump. There's no question about that. On the other hand, he's deeply bitter because he now realizes that, hell, I could run better than her. She's running the worst campaign I've ever seen. Even though I rarely have lucid moments, I'd still be more lucid than she is.
Yeah, I agree. I think he was I thought he was the worst candidate we've ever seen until I saw Kamala, who's completely lucid, just I think slightly brain dead.
Well, and I think this is a key point, John. But now that Trump has done McDonald's, I understand Kamala is going to do Five Guys. Just did that right there.
Oh boy! No, I mean it's unbelievable.
Maybe then she'll do In and Out. Who knows?
It's truly remarkable to me because Roger, she doesn't resonate with anybody. I'm just a regular guy. You, at the end of the day, you're a regular guy, Roger. President Trump at the end of the day is a regular guy, and that's who he has backing him. You look, he's got former football players backing him. He's got radio people backing him, rappers, singers. He's got a record number of rappers. I don't remember George Bush or John McCain or Mitt Romney getting any of these damn people to endorse him. And yet you got Donald Trump, who, if you support Donald Trump and he doesn't live, Elon Musk, the smartest man in the world, is putting it all on the line to back Donald Trump. He didn't have to do this, Roger. He was living a fine life before Donald Trump. You look what happened after he started speaking out in support of the Republican Party. He got complaints from the SEC, the FEC. I mean, different countries saying his life is turning upside down, just like they did to Donald Trump. Luckily, Elon Musk is a smart man and he's a strong man. These are the people supporting President Trump. Yet you've got guys like Jamie Dimon, we find out this week, the CEO of JP Morgan. JP Morgan has paid $40 billion, Roger, in the last, I think it's 20 years or so, in fines for unethical practices. That's a lot of money to be paying for doing things like that. Is supporting Kamala Harris behind the scenes. When I look at things like that, Roger, I say to myself, how are these people so dumb? Jamie Dimon is a brilliant man. He runs JP Morgan Chase, the number one financial institution in this country. And he knows what Kamala can do to this country. The corporate tax cuts expire in 2025, Roger. People don't realize what happens when those expire. Kamala Harris's plan will be to double them, to triple them, to cripple these people. On the other side, I see Kamala running commercials saying, Trump is for the rich, he's for the tax cuts for the good. What people don't understand, Roger, is by Trump giving these people tax cuts, they're able to dump more money into the economy. They're able to hire more people. They're able to open up more branches. It gives people jobs from the top to the bottom and all around.
Let's start from the beginning. The Trump tax cuts were across the board. They would have you believe that he only cut taxes on billionaires and corporations. No, every single American, except for those below a certain income level who weren't taxed at all, got a tax cut. And the greatest tax relief went to the people in the middle brackets, not the billionaires. It's just another Kamala Harris created lie. It's the big lie. By the way, tax cuts do not cause deficits.
Right.
Spending caused deficits.
Right.
Every year Donald Trump was president, federal revenues went up substantially, just like they did every year after Reagan cut taxes, just after they did every year after John Kennedy cut taxes. But they try to claim that this $1 trillion deficit that we have is caused by tax cuts on the working people. No, it's caused by spending, out of control spending. The prices in the grocery stores are not, as Kamala Harris would have you believe, because capitalist companies are trying to gouge you. They're higher because they are paying more for everything because of the inflation, and the inflation is caused by spending, wild, out of control, uncalculated spending, sending billions of dollars that I guess is not in any budget. They just print it up and send it along. That's what causes inflation. That's what's jacking your food prices and the prices of everything else. They pretend, they're just anti-business, anti-free enterprise. Let's blame the businessmen.
Right.
Kamala is incredible in her constant claims that we will do exactly what she's doing, saying that Trump will weaponize the criminal justice system against his political opponents. Hello. Rudy Giuliani, Donald Trump, Roger Stone, General Flynn, Paul Manafort, please. They tried to bankrupt Trump. Even the appeals court is having serious problems with the so-called valuations case, a case in which there is no victim. Trump borrowed money. The banks he borrowed it from did their own independent appraisal. They didn't take his appraisal. What he thought things were worth is irrelevant.
Right. And Donald Trump
made $40 million in interest on their investments, and they got paid in time. In some places, they even got paid early. Where's the crime? There is no crime.
Yeah. And they could go after Donald Trump, and luckily for him, and it shouldn't even be this way. And I hate that I'm even saying this. He can afford to defend himself, but guys like Roger Stone aren't millionaires who can go out there and you have to pay for your attorneys. Right? You don't have a campaign that confronts some of the money for you to pay campaign.
I still have a set of residual civil complaints, civil cases that have been filed against me. There were once 2017. These are filed after my pardon by nuts, cranks, crackpots, liberals, Democrats. Oh, wait a minute, I'm being redundant. And they're expensive, and you can't just not respond. You have to go into court and respond to them. Now, I think we're down now to 3 or 4 major cases. The rest of them have been dismissed. In some cases, the judges ordered those who sued me to pay my legal expenses. I'm still waiting for that money, by the way. But yeah, I had to set up a legal defense fund, stonedefensefund.com. I still have to pay those costs. It's a big check every month. But that's lawfare. It's nothing compared to what the president's been through, but it's the same essential philosophy. That's why I think taking on Elon Musk, a man with very deep pockets, is a huge mistake, because he will fight back. And you're right. Ever since he decided to take sides and stand up for truth, and ever since he decided to expose in the Twitter file the way, sorry, CNN, the government did work with these big tech giants to silence people whose speech they didn't like. Wasn't disinformation. Yeah. Sorry, but Hunter Biden's laptop did not have all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. In fact, it was real, as we now know.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, Roger. And going back to what I said, the people who are supporting Kamala Harris, you look at them. Mark Cuban, are you kidding me? The Viewcast, Joy Behar saying this week, it's hard to believe that anyone would support this fascist pig. Has this woman not looked in a mirror? And I'm not even talking about her physical appearance or any of them on that show, their physical appearance, just who they are. These people are people throwing stones while living in glass houses.
The people who want to censor what you and I and millions of others think, they're the fascists.
Good luck with that, Roger. They ain't ever shutting me up. I promise you that.
Well, I understand that. But again, this is Alinsky's rule. So always accuse your opponent of that which you yourself are doing. So Trump's going to use the military. Lo and behold, we find out they're preparing to use the military, and they have issued orders. Yeah. They attacked me because I said that if the polls are shut, you have to go to a judge, get a court order. You may need a security guard to go back into the polling places because they have been violent in the past. Stone wants to put security guards at every polling place. Well, then this week, what did the FBI announce? Well, they're going to be putting FBI agents at polling places. What's that for?
Yeah.
Is that for intimidation or is that for security? What's that for? So again, they constantly do and are doing all the things that they accuse us of.
Yeah, I thought 2016 was a bitter race. I thought 2020 was a bitter race. But this, I mean, it's hitting new levels. Indictments, assassination attempts, all perpetuated by the Marxist Dems on the left. Roger, as we wrap up here, you've been a close confidant of President Trump, an advisor, having his ear for a very long time. And, him taking your word, you were one of the first people, if not the first, to try to get him to run in the 2000s, trying to recruit him. And you believed in him from the beginning, before anybody else, before it was popular to do so. It's still not popular to do so. But let's say hypothetically, Roger, just to not get anybody in trouble here and make a headline that Roger Stone says told President Trump to do this. Hypothetically speaking, what do you tell President Trump with 10 days to go? How does he finish this race strong? Pedal on the metal. It's already on the metal. The guy has rally after rally after rally lined up. No days off for the man. He never takes a day off. What are you telling President Trump, of course, hypothetically, as he enters these final 10 days here? Looks like he's ahead.
Well, first of all, I think he's been incredibly effective in all of his recent public appearances. The Chicago Economic Forum,
Oh my God.
he knew until the last minute it was an interview. I think he thought it was a speech. He had to joust with some arrogant never Trumper, and he destroyed the guy. It was one of his best performances ever. Trump under fire is the best. His speech in California, epic. His visit to McDonald's, so people can identify with him. He's a guy who loves people. He's a guy who loves mixing with people. Yeah. I think the key thing here, and it's kind of obvious, he needs to stay focused on the big picture issues. The economy. They're destroying the economy and the buying power of our dollar. We need to bring back energy independence to low gasoline prices. And then you have the tools to fix the rest of the economy. Secondarily, he has to stay focused on the crime wave across America that is caused by having open borders, and the fact that the borders under this administration have been open, and Kamala was, Charlemagne the God, Kamala was in charge of the border, and she did nothing. She didn't even visit it. She needs to stay focused on those big picture issues. This is very much like the end of the 1980 campaign. He just needs to ask that simple question. Are you better off than you were 3+ years ago? And the answer is no. Most Americans weren't. And that's why he's making deep inroads into the Hispanic community, deep inroads into the African-American community, deep inroads into heretofore Democrat voting groups. And I think he's on the cusp of a great victory. But overconfidence is a problem, not on his part, but on the part of some of his supporters. People keep saying, oh, it's going to be a landslide. No, that's the wrong attitude. Every single vote will count, every single vote. Trump goes to California. Now, realistically, he's not going to win California. But there are millions of Republican voters in California and Republican-leaning independents who will vote for him, and they count in the popular vote. They count a lot. It's one of the biggest states. Also, he was able to raise money while he was out there and have a phenomenal rally. So my advice to him, I would say the same thing privately as I say publicly, is to stay focused on the big picture issues. I think he might want to consider addressing this fake narrative that they're trying to push that his supporters are going to become violent or that they are planning violence, because it's not true. It's a setup. It's not true. We intend to win this election and do it legally and do it by the book.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You mentioned the illegal immigration and the problem it's caused in this country. You learned today from the DHS at least 600 Venezuelan gang members, most of them violent, if not all of them violent, are now in this country. You don't hear anybody talking about that. Only the people who are bearing the brunt of it, whose lives are being turned upside down, the people being brutally murdered. As of right now, as the polls show, Trump's up 2 nationally, up 8 in the swing states. So, we're all praying November 5th is a hopeful outcome. Folks, for all you joining us on the Great America Show, Roger has a show of his own, the Stone Zone. Each and every night, Roger, what time and where can they find you?
Sure. They can go to stonezone.com, where they'll find everything Roger Stone, and you subscribe for free. And you can see my show specifically at rumble.com/Roger Stone, rumble.com/Roger Stone. You should download the Rumble app, but at minimum, leave a notification there. It shows at 8 o'clock Eastern time 5 days a week at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The Stone Zone, we talk politics, news, history, style, food, music, whatever is on our minds.
A little bit more fun than this show. Roger Stone, thanks for all you've done for this country and everything you're doing for this country. We'll see you next week.
Great to be with you, John.
Thanks to Roger Stone. And as I said, we highly recommend you join Roger each and every night for his great show, The Stone Zone, stonezone.com. Thank you all for being with us. Please be sure to join us back here tomorrow for the Great America Show as our quest for truth, justice, and the American way continues. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at John Fawcett NY and on Truth Social at John Fawcett. We're also now on Instagram. We're going to be posting reels and everything and highlights from our favorite guests and key moments from our guests. You can follow us on Instagram at The Great America Show. What's easier than that? The Great America Show on Instagram. Be sure to follow us. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Same time, same place. May God bless you. May God bless America. And may God bless the great Lou Dobbs.